everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing my friend Lori Bell, who is an Air Force veteran and Air Force spouse, and she's also the founder of Idea Pop. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Sue. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. We've been having the best time catching up, and so we're like, oh my God, we have to do an interview. Let's get on
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, yeah.
No, so for people who don't know you and your story, could you share a little bit about your military spouse journey, where you started and where you are now?
Oh, absolutely. So I started, first of all, as a second lieutenant at Andrews Air Force Base, way back in the late 90s,
Wow.
and served for 10 years, met my husband there, and I became a military spouse, what was it? It was 2007. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to be a spouse, military spouse. And so all I had was the experience of spouses who the spouses of my troops when I was in leadership. And I thought, I don't know how to do this. I had a little baby, I was pregnant for the second time, and we moved to Alaska, and that was my first experience being a spouse. And so I immediately joined mommy and me play dates, and I plugged into the coffees, found the spouses club, all these different things. And I tell you, that changed everything for me because I didn't really know about the Military Spouse Network. I didn't know Word of Mom. I heard someone say that one time. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew from my perspective as an active duty military person what the resources were. But now flipping the script and being the family member plugging into the family support center and all these things, it changed everything. And that really made my journey a lot more easy. To be around other spouses who felt the pain. They were also new moms. They also had toddlers, and we were all doing the same thing, going through it together. So, and it's evolved many times
I know
over
we were
the
just
years.
chatting about how like you just founded this AI company, Idea Pop, but
Mhm.
like in reading your story and catching up, you've had so many professional pivots in your life. And I
Yes.
think as somebody who is like, oh, I'm just gonna do the same thing until something figures itself out. I mean, I guess I always look at people who have a lot of pivots because I wonder how they know. Like you've had so many pivots. How
Yeah.
did you know when it was time to move on? And then how do you have the courage to move on, right?
Oh my gosh. Listen, I didn't know. I did
Mm,
not know. Many times I didn't know. And I always did it. Sometimes I did it too early.
mm.
I didn't stick with the thing. Like I would get a brilliant idea and I would go, oh, this would be perfect. Let's do it. And then if it got confusing, if it got too hard, if I felt like it was taking too long, I would leave it. And I didn't stay around long enough to see the thing grow. I would plant the seed and then dig it up. And so it took maturity. It took many iterations of doing that before I realized, girl, relax. Let's let the thing settle for a minute. Let's stick with it for a year. Let's see. And so I would have to, initially, I gave myself 90-day sprints or 90-day windows of time where it's like, for 90 days, this is all I'm saying. This is all I'm selling. I'm just doing this for 90 days. And listen, that was the hardest thing for somebody who is like, ideas are popping.
Right, shiny squirrel.
Yeah. And so finally when I locked myself down and everything really turned for me. And this is gonna sound crazy. When I turned 50. And that was just last September. So I turned 50 and I realized, where you going? Girl, what are you doing? What's the chase about? What are we chasing? What are we doing? Just relax. Let's do a thing and stick with the thing and see it flourish. And that has helped a lot. That
Well, I
turn.
also think for you, like you're very family focused. So you're probably like, okay, all of this is great, but I have my family. I need to make sure that they're fine. I need to make sure that they're, flying with wings, and then I'll figure it out. So to me, I think just on the outside looking in, I think that your thing was like focus, like you're hyper focused on your family. And then now you have the
Mhm.
space to really focus on yourself. Um,
So it was that. And now let me tell you, it took a lot for me to be a stay-at-home mom. And I may have been on child number 3 when I finally said, oh my gosh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. How do I feel about that? Because
Yeah.
I have a lot of ambition. And in many ways, I felt like, getting married to another active duty person, I felt like my husband was walking into a story already in progress. This train is moving, you know? And I had a lot of ambition and a lot of goals, a lot of dreams, a lot of, like I felt guilty a lot because I felt like motherhood was not enough. Spousehood was not enough. And I was always on this chase for significance. And it took many times of just resting in what I'm doing right now is the thing. That is it. And so we can get really wrapped up in our heads about what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to be, you know, in life, in society, in culture. And then when you unplug from all of that and you really hear your own voice, things get a lot more calm and you see success faster.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't like I gave everything to my children. Absolutely not. I was trying to give everything to me, but that did not serve any of us well because I was always frustrated. And I think the greatest gift we can give our kids is a happy mom. I was not happy. And once I stopped doing those things, then I became me, I think,
Yeah.
a more truer me.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, back to your age comment, they do say that like you really free up. So for some people, it happens when they turn 40. For me, like you, it happened when I turned 50 many years
Hmm.
ago. And it was like you just stop caring about what other people think and you stop caring about what other people think you should be doing. And you're
Hmm.
like, I don't have time for this. I probably have as many years ahead of me as I have behind me, and I just really need to get it together. So you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. But like I think one question that younger spouses will have is, and spouses who are starting out is, what do you say to the people who have to make a certain amount of money, right? Because we know that military families rely on two incomes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really happy for the ones that don't. I think that's a great luxury. But
Mhm.
for people who do rely on a second income and they have to make a certain amount of money per month, but they also want to pursue their passions, they want to experiment to see what their passion is. What do you say to them? Like, how do they keep that light going while still making the family obligation, the financial obligations?
Hmm. We are in such an amazing time when you talk about AI and the speed of things.
Hmm.
The flip side of that is AI is artificial intelligence. And I feel like what people are really starving for now is authenticity. And so, what I mean by that is if you have to make money now, make an offer, make the ask. Do not wait for perfection. What really succeeds on social media, what I've seen is people who are real. When you're doing a live in your car, when you're doing it while you're changing the baby's diaper, when you are iterating in public and you're messing up publicly,
Yeah, people
it
want to know.
normalizes you. You look real, and people can see you're not an AI configuration of yourself. Because now people we got AI playlists on Spotify. People are, the AI twins and all of these different things. Well, when you show up as you and you're like, I have an offer and I'm making it. I'm making the ask. And sometimes sell it before you make it.
Hmm.
Sell it before it's perfect. Sell it before it's done. Sell it and then go do it.
Yeah, and to your point about how we live in an era of AI and opportunities online, I see more and more spouses within the gig economy, like they can make as much money on Upwork or other
Yeah.
places where they're selling, like they're editing or they're doing whatever, like, virtual assistant or whatever. And so that side gig
Hmm.
helps them, like cover the amount that they have to make so that they can then pursue
Yes.
their passion. So you're right. Like the internet is rife with opportunities. And I
I
love
had
about the AI thing because I was just watching one of the influencers we follow and like she does all this great travel content. And I'm like, oh, if I'm not taking a vacation this year, I want to follow her vacation. And then
Mhm.
like, she just today came on, she's like, let me tell you about my day. This is where I started. This is where it went wrong. And I was so happy because when you look at it, it all looks so glossy. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
everything works out well for them. She's like, no, it was total fail of a day. Like, this is how
Yeah.
it failed. And I'm like, I love that. And now I'm going to follow her even more because it's kind of annoying when everything works out for them and you're like, you're not even real. And when
Right.
you find out that they are just as flawed as you are and their vacations potentially fail like yours, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I like you better. So I love that you said that.
Listen, the gig, I have had so many side hustles. I used to be on Fiverr and I sold bedtime songs. I will
Hmm.
sing your child to sleep. And I would back when Fiverr was just starting and things
Yeah.
were genuinely $5. I was
Yeah.
doing that. I have been a call center operator, and my husband was a senior officer. I worked for Intuit. I was like the customer service for QuickBooks. I sold weight loss programs and MLM things, and I mean, I've done whatever it took, really. So, and nothing's off limits, and all
So
of
it
that
wasn't
fed
like
the dream.
so it wasn't like you were having the dream and you're pursuing your passions and somebody else was paying the bills. You were paying the bills by doing all these side gigs to give
Mhm.
yourself the ability. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I took and over the years, again, everything is growth. Um, Learning how to take responsibility for the dream because my husband, he's a masculine man. He's a man's man. He is coming in to fix a thing. Did you say you're broken? Your heart is broken? Let me, what hurts? It's gotta die. I'm killing it now. You know what I mean? And so so over the years, I would lean all the way into his desire for rescue or his desire to take care of me without taking responsibility for the thing I said I wanted and wasn't willing to pay the cost for. And so for me, it's easy to pay the price for something. Anybody can throw money at stuff all day. That's the
Right,
price. That's just to get into the arena. But
right.
are you gonna again that stick and stay thing? Are you gonna stay there when it's not selling, when nobody cares, when you got 1.5 viewer and no likes, and you posting your little heart out and ain't nobody's looking at you? You know what I mean? Can you still stay there? And if you can get over that, the desire to be seen and heard and known and all of that, and just keep doing your thing, keep doing your thing, it will definitely pay off. And I'm seeing that now in my own growth.
And I'm like nodding my head because yes, Lori, I know what you mean. Painful, I know what you mean.
Yeah, right.
So as a senior spouse, I imagine that you're always being pulled in different directions. And I think it's admirable how you're confident in your decision-making process and that very much incorporates your value system, right? We talked about that. What would you say to spouses who may not be as confident in taking a stand? Like how do they get started in advocating for themselves and being okay with saying no? Because like our service members, they have like so many demands on their time, and there's the expectation that if you're married your spouse will go with you, or like you're getting 2 for 1, but maybe it's not convenient for them all the time. Like how do they start advocating for themselves and being okay with saying no in the context of doing things for their service members career? We get this question all the time.
I love it. I love it. So listen, my husband has been in command positions since about, I'm gonna say 2017. And I remember that our first wing command, because he's wing commanded 3 times.
Wow.
And so our first one, everybody was saying, you have to do this, you'll have to be that, you'll have to know this, that, and the other. And we were at a base where my husband's 3-star boss also lived. And so everyone was like, you're gonna have to show up this and da 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 da. And I said, okay, here's the first thing I did. I looked at my husband. I literally looked at him. He was my vector. And I remember downloading on him one night. We had just moved in, boxes everywhere, and he saw that I was stressed out because all the people were telling me I had to do all the things. And he said, "Lori, did I never asked you to do that? Who's telling you that? Where are you getting that from?" And he said, "That's not my priority as the installation commander." And so when he said that, it was so much freedom because he held me there. And I began to look at him. If he's not stressing, if he's not asking, that's not a thing for me. And so I put the word out to the people who were welcoming the new installation commander's wife. And I was like, give me 3 weeks. I'm not available for 3 weeks. I'm unpacking. I got to get the kids settled, got to get myself together. 3 weeks. And that's exactly what happened. That's how I said no. That was the beginning. And then I had to get honest with myself. Who am I for real? I don't volunteer. I have never enjoyed volunteer. I have never volunteered in the thrift store. And when I said to myself, girl, you know you don't like doing that. Don't do it. That does not mean I did not serve. That meant I put my service where it counted, where I was going to bring my whole self to it without the expectation of other people. And I remember people saying, we really need volunteers in the thing. Okay, how can I help you get that?
Yeah,
That's gonna be my job. How can I help you get some volunteers? Because I'm not the one you don't want me there. Because I'm not gonna be happy. It's I'm gonna be draggy.
right.
I'm not gonna be an asset to you there. And I think if spouses get real with themselves, get real with their service member, and ask, especially if they're in leadership, especially if they are in positions where they're leading masses of people, ask your spouse, where do you want my attention in this position that you're in? What's going to benefit you, us, and the base? And when I hear from him, and he's like, yeah, I don't care about that. But you know what? What we really need, we need you. I need you over here to look at this. Then that's my number one. And that's where I put the focus. Everything else is just if I want to or not. But it was such a beautiful thing. And this is what I mean when I say we serve together too. We serve together. It's not his job and then I go over here and do this. It's not this military life and then I go, it's one life. We do it together. That has made every difference to me.
And so it's all about the communication. It's like as
Yes.
since you're serving together in your partnership, then it's that open line of communication. Like, no, I'm happy to do whatever I need to do to support you, just like you would support me, but tell me. And I appreciate that you understand that you don't like volunteering or you
Mhm.
don't like volunteering in a box. Like this is what, this is what we imagine that a wing commander's wife should do, a spouse should
Yeah.
do. And you're like, no, let's look at you're very much an entrepreneur because you're like, let's look at the bottom line. What do you need? You need more volunteers. You don't need me as a volunteer. You just need more volunteers. Bottom line. What I can do is help you find more volunteers. And I love that. So it's not that you're saying don't volunteer. It's you have a skill set that you can bring to the problem, but they first need to articulate the problem and understand that the way you solve the problem might not be the way that they imagine you were going to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that entrepreneurial spirit serves in so many ways. So if military spouses are entrepreneurs and they bring that to the table, that counts. That matters. And it is a perspective that many do not have because they're not putting themselves on the line like that. You know what I mean?
Do you
Yeah.
think that's also something that might serve senior spouses better is if they understood that this new generation of military spouses have their own lives going and the way that they do service may not be what we view as an appropriate way of doing service because it's not how we did it coming up. But, because I talk to my girlfriends who have daughters who are now just starting in the military lifestyle, but they all have jobs. They have like
Yeah.
full-time jobs. And she's like, it's crazy because they're not showing up for a daytime event because they have a full-time job making more than their service member. Like they have a career, right? And so it's interesting and they're like and they're invested, these are army spouses. They're invested in the army but in different ways than we were invested in the army.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Sure.
when you look at it, I remember years ago, someone gave me a gift. It's the Air Force Wife Handbook. It's a thick book.
My mother-in-law gave it to me.
Really? It's a beautiful book, and it tells you how to address envelopes, how to host a coffee, how to dress, and all of that. And it's very interesting reading.
It's like historical reading. It's almost tongue in cheek now.
It is. Now, there's something I love etiquette. I love the sophistication of it, but at the same time, that's not my generation,
Right.
right? And so I don't drink coffee, so I don't host coffees, but I do host fashion shows. I've done
Hmm.
that over the years. I host teas. I host, stuff that I like. And meanwhile, younger spouses who are coming in now, they don't have that at all. I think the number one thing is number one, you got to be clear on what makes it's the marriage first. It's not the military first, it's the marriage first. So when a spouse gets married and they're marrying into the military, okay, what does that look like for us? What is this going to require of me? What are your expectations of me? Where will this take us in the long run? Because at the end of all of this, what you want is to be standing with your person, you know? And so I've never been a person who was like, I don't know where my husband works. I don't know what he does. He leaves here and I go and do my thing. I've never been that. And I don't, that served us well because I have met when, before he was in command, I knew his coworkers. I knew his boss, you know? And so I think that that helps when we all understand there is a formula that works for every marriage, every relationship in the military, but it's important to be true to that and understand what that is.
And I think to me, as I'm talking to you, I'm envisioning like the whole person. And your
Mhm.
military persona is very much part of the whole person. And like and I like what you said, like you want to be standing next to them at the end because having now that we're on the other side of retirement, I'm like, dude, our friends said this. The friends who retired before us were like, you're going to get to a point where it's very hard to imagine this right now, but you're going to get to the point where the time that you guys were in the military life, it's going to be just a little part of the rest of your life. And
Wow.
so I'm like, whatever, we were so in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Because that is something we look back on fondly, but it wasn't our whole life. So you do have to stay together the
Mhm.
whole time. And it's not like you're going to change once they retire. The dynamic that you set up is still going to be there.
Mhm.
So wrapping it back up to your career, it's almost like, you might be in a place once he retires to where your career might take the lead,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but you already have that strong communication
Mhm.
mechanism set up to where that's fine. And that's amazing. So I guess in closing, what I would say is just to wrap all this up, as a senior spouse who's been at this for a while, who's developed very strong, clear frameworks of how you make decisions, um, and keeping, everything balanced, what would you say to a newer spouse who's just coming into this with the deployments, with the op tempo that it is now, and is just thinking, I feel like I'm losing myself. Like where is there space for my career in this lifestyle? And is it later? Is it now? Like, what would you say to them as encouragement?
Mm. I think it goes back to truth telling and being ridiculously honest with yourself. Everything starts with the self to me. You got to know what your standard is for yourself. And now that you're married and in the service, what does that look like for the two of you? What are you willing to accept? What is an absolute non-negotiable? What will never come between you? One of the things that my husband and I decided long time ago was that we would never do what we call elective TDYs or elective, no, what do you
Geo
call it?
batching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We never did that. Now, some families might have to. When your kid is um performing well at school and the learning is going well, and for the first time in years they finally click, and now you got to up and leave. Those are tough choices. But for us, we decided we function better together.
Mhm.
It's just how it's always been. And but it comes back to telling the truth to yourself first. What are you willing to accept? What's a non-negotiable for you? What do you need? And then seeing with your spouse, okay, how do we make this work for all of us, for both of us? And finding those ways that we matter. Before anything, we are going to stand together. Because you can get through anything when you're standing with your person. I
No,
think.
I love that. And that is a great tone to
Mhm.
end on. Thank you so much, Lori. It's
Yeah,
been so fun catching up with you. And thank you to our friends at USA for making these conversations possible. I just love that they do this so that we can highlight military spouses like yourself. Um,
absolutely.
with that, I will say thank you, everyone, for joining us and come back next week for another highlight. Bye.